Hey everyone, it's us from Final Boy Status, your favorite horror podcast, here to talk about another horror movie. I'm psyched. Are you guys psyched?
Yeah, I am actually. I was so excited about this movie.
Yeah.
This is. I'm jumping in a little bit, but this is a Lanson pick, and Lanson knocked it out of the park.
Usually does. It's pretty consistent for him.
He rarely fails.
Well, you guys don't know me well enough quite yet.
Oh no, we're not. I mean, when it comes to the podcast, we're not talking about your personal failings, of which there are many.
Oh, it's a long list, guys. Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Movie choices alone.
Movie choices, he does.
It's
great.
a home run.
He does great with movie choices.
Knocks it out of the park. Speaking of which, just to introduce us, I'm Adam. I'm going to be the host for this episode. I am joined by Lanson Lappin
What's up, guys?
and Luke Haueter.
Hello, I am also. Yep, I'm here. I do the same thing like every episode where I'm like, yeah, I'm also here.
It's the same shtick every time, Luke.
I am not a real person. I've been programmed to say about 8,000 different words, and
Quick.
it's no wonder I recycle some.
Select all the parking meters. Go quick. He couldn't. He's a bot.
He's a robot.
Are there 3 on the screen? There's none on the screen.
There are none.
This is a blank screen, Luke.
There's like an ejector seat. Out of the studio.
We've teased it a little bit, but let's I don't know what metaphor I'm going for. Open the canister. I don't know where that came from. But the movie this week is the movie Veronica. It is a Spanish movie. It's on Netflix. I had never heard of it until I met Lanson, who mentioned it was a really good movie about 6 months ago. And then when it came up to choose movies, he chose it. And then I watched it for the first time this morning, and it was awesome. And I'm very glad he chose it. Like Luke said, I'm excited. I didn't have any expectations going in. I had no idea what it was about, and we left it. But so for those of you who it's your first time coming into the show, this is a horror podcast where we decide if we could survive horror movies. So just like you do with your friends, you're watching a show and you're looking at the screen and somebody does something super stupid, which happens all the time with most horror movies. That's what this podcast is. That's what this podcast is about. We're going to be breaking down these horror movies. Could we do better? Could we survive better? But at the beginning of the podcast, we do like to just talk about the movie as bros and just rank it on a level of spoopiness and quality in a very subjective manner. We'll do that first, and then we'll get into the survivability of the show. But first, let's do a quick little recap, or a quick, what I like to call the Blu-ray box summary. Does one of you want to tackle that, kind of what it's about?
Yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
Lanson?
For sure. So as mentioned before, this is a Spanish film. It's set in Madrid back in the old 1991. A long time ago. Ye old. The 90s.
We're joking about that, but also none of us were alive in 91.
True.
We were, yeah. A long way off.
We were in the vapors. We didn't. There was no existence.
Yeah, but anyway, so the movie itself, kind of the setting, we find ourselves introduced to a family. Veronica, a 15-year-old girl. She, her 3 siblings, and their mom. They've recently gone through a tragedy. Her father has passed away pretty recently, and in that process of trying to get used to her life and taking on more responsibility with the family, she ends up, she wants to reconnect with her dad, so she and a couple friends end up doing a seance with a Ouija board during an eclipse. And
I like the way you're pitching this, like when you want to reconnect with your father,
right,
the thing you do, which is a seance during an eclipse.
Come on, this is the 90s. This is before internet.
Yeah. We've all been there. Come on.
The basement of your Catholic school. Just
basic stuff.
Which is the thing I had forgotten about this movie, is that the seance takes place in the school.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in the basement.
Yep.
I fully did not I think I've seen this before. I'll be honest, as I was watching it, I was like, I remember none of this. I thought I'd seen it before, but it's possible I haven't. So, but yeah, when it got to like them doing the seance in the basement of the school, I was like, what? Because I did remember there was a seance in the movie, but I was convinced that it happened like at somebody's house. And I was like, the school? What the?
Creepy
What?
basement.
What?
That every school has, you know?
Where the blind nun goes to smoke.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just like every school.
Yes.
Just like every nun.
Every blind nun. Let's be specific.
Very true. Very true. So yeah. So basically, just the event of she ends up doing a seance during an eclipse, ends up opening the door to something supernatural and scary, and some crazy stuff happens and follows the rest of the movie. So it's a good time.
Yeah.
Classic good time. It's awakening a violent and evil spirit. everybody's favorite thing to do.
Hey, come on! It's a Friday night. What are we gonna do? We're gonna awaken Beelzebub.
So there's the summary for you. I think I have been recently giving this disclaimer every time, but this is a good place for it. If you haven't seen the movie, like I said, we're going to be breaking it down pretty good, so we'll be spoiling it. If you haven't seen it, follow along, watch the movies we're watching, or if you don't care, you could just watch it. This podcast is totally fine. But yeah, we will be getting to spoilers as we're talking about the quality and spookiness of this movie on a scale of 1 to 13, because it is spoopy season. Not technically, but it's always spoopy season. So
let's be honest. As soon as the 4th of July is over, it's spooky
it's
time.
spoopy season.
It's time to get spooky.
I think this season of the podcast debuted like the week after July 4th. So as far as we're concerned, spooky time happens immediately after the 4th of July is over.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, it happens immediately before it as well. And so it's like always happening.
Just all year round.
Adam is as spooky as it gets. If you were to do an x-ray of him, you would find a skeleton. That's how spooky he is.
That is true.
We did-
I've been told that by
For
people.
real?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a
That's
condition.
crazy.
You've been told that?
People are like, you know what, if I just x-rayed you, I bet I'd find a skeleton, wouldn't I?
Oh,
You're
okay.
radiologist.
I thought
yeah.
I thought you were saying somebody told you like we did an X-ray. There's a skeleton inside you. We're not going to show you the pictures, but we did find a skeleton inside of you.
This may be very graphic, but there are definitely bones within your carcass. It's
Within
crazy.
atom bone.
And it checks out. It checks out the name.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Senor Wafer.
So, with that being said, let's just go around the room, give your thoughts about the movie, quality, rank it by 13, and then spookiness, rank it by 13. 2 separate rankings. Let's start with Luke.
Oh shoot.
I was
Okay.
about to go this way, then I went this way.
I fully thought you were going to go to lap.
Thought you had time to think. No. Nope.
All right. Oh man, I really like this movie. First of all, I'm so excited that we're opening the door to foreign language films, because I mean, cinema is a worldwide language, and like it's honestly a shame how many people shut the door just because.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also like a team up of Paco Plaza and some of the other people from Rec, which is an incredible horror movie. I don't know if Adam's ever seen Rec, but it's like found footage. It's so far up your alley, dude. But yeah, so it's like a reteaming of a lot of some of the production team from that, which I was really excited about because I think Rec is amazing. And like I said, I kind of in the back of my head thought I had seen it before, but as I was watching it, I was like, I actually am not sure because I definitely don't remember most of this. But it is so well done. I mean, it's really intimate. It's very stylistic. But at the same time, it does stuff that I feel like I haven't seen before, which is really cool. A lot of times, horror movies, when they're trying to be interesting and original, end up doing something that you're like, well, but yeah, I'm way too familiar with that. This movie's really successful at doing really cool and unique things that I hadn't seen before. So I really enjoyed myself watching this movie. I want to call out the director of photography. Do you happen to remember his name? Because I'm blanking on it right now.
I will pull it up.
I think it's Pablo Rosso, I think is the director of photography. He was also the DP on Rec, so let me just gush about this guy.
Yes, Pablo Rosso. Yes, sir.
I really, really liked his work in this. One scene in particular, towards the end of the movie, when they're sitting around in a circle,
Yeah.
like
Really
doing a
stuck out to me, too.
chant. Yeah, trying to they're doing a chant, trying to keep a creature out, and it's just tracking around and around and around. It's so gorgeous. I literally stopped, backed it up, and rewatched it 3 times because I was like, this is so cool. I really like this. Pablo Rosso killed that. Him and Paco Plaza, obviously, that was like a team effort, I'm sure. So there's really, really cool stuff in this movie. And like, it is based on a true story. I don't know enough about the true story to say like,
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it to say like how true the movie is, but this movie really checks a lot of cool boxes for me. So let's add a 13 for quality. Oh, I'm like stalling because I'm just thinking about the movie. It's so good. I'm gonna go at 10.5. This was a really strong entry for me. And honestly, I think when I go back to watch it in the future, that number might even go up. Because I feel like there were elements of it that I didn't quite get this go around. It doesn't help that I was a little bit distracted while I was watching the movie. Normally I'm like laser focused, but I was a little all over the place. But so I'm gonna go at 10.5. In terms of spookiness, this is hard to say because, like I said, I went into it with an expectation because it was the same team that did Rec, and Rec scared the shit out of me. And like it would like in like jump scares, scary. Which is like I normally don't like, but sometimes it's done so well that you're loving it. And so I kind of went into this movie expecting something very similar, which was just like, don't get too comfortable. Something's going to really like spook you. I didn't find that happened. Mm-hmm. So I was actually a little underwhelmed at first. But then as soon as I turned off the movie, I was deeply, deeply unsettled. Right. I slept with my lamp on. Like it like unsettled me enough that I was like, I can't be alone in the darkness.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had like the flashlight and the little glowy sticky things. That was so beautiful. Like the way nice. She did that.
Absolutely.
So this is hard to say because during the movie I wasn't feeling very scared, but after the movie I was just like so shaken for like, and I think it's just the culmination of everything. And also like, spoiler alert, this is like a possession story. Possession stories affect me in a very particular way. Like, you know, I can watch like The Thing where a guy gets ripped in half and I'm like, well, that was pretty rad. But then I watch a movie about a demonic possession and I'm like, oh,
about that.
That's horrifying. So this, I don't know where to put this because my first instinct as soon as the movie was over, I was like, I don't know, it's probably like a 4 or a 5. But then I had to sit with the movie overnight and it just like was growing exponentially in a really unexpected way. It's definitely disturbing. You got to be ready for some stuff to go down. Oh man, let's give it. You know what? Let's really get generous with this, and I'm gonna give it a 9.5 for spooky.
Dang, dude, nice. I like it.
I'm gonna really go on the extra side for our first foreign language film because
absolutely,
it was really good. Oh, and also like I don't know when else to shout him out. The little kid that played. The youngest kid.
Antonio.
Antonito.
Antonito.
Whoever that kid was, cutest kid in the world.
Oh, I know, right?
We were gushing about him.
He's amazing. And like an added layer to the movie is the fact that the movie is not afraid to put him in danger.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And like that really got to me as well. So I'm going to be real generous. I love these filmmakers. I love that we're opening the door to foreign language films. So I'll give it a 9.5.
I like it a lot. So Antonito is played by Ivan Chabero. So shout out to that guy. You're great. Kind of awesome.
So freaking cute.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh. I like one of like the worst moments during the film is when he's supposed to be drawing the protection symbol on the wall, and he gets
Turns
bored
the
and he flips over to the next page, which is like a summoning symbol,
Invocation.
and he starts drawing that one, and you're just like, no, please stop, Antonito, no,
Don't do it.
Please.
So yeah, like really good. I really liked this one, guys, and I'm excited to get into it.
All right, Lanson, let's hear your thoughts, my man.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, Veronica. I originally watched it just because I had heard it was pretty good, and it was on Netflix, and I didn't have a lot of expectations. But the first time I watched it, and the second time, just a stellar movie. You know, a really fun time, really cool. I think it's awesome that we're doing a foreign language film, specifically Spanish. It's a beautiful language. It's super dope.
Lanson actually, fun fact for the audience out there, Lanson speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, just a little bit for sure.
turned off the subtitles. He was like, yeah, I don't need that.
I got this. No worries.
No. I mean, well, your Spanish is based more in, like, Southern America, yeah.
Yeah, yep. I learned most of it in Mexico and Chile. So
Yeah, this movie was made in Spain, and it is
Yeah.
actually different. So there might have been enough there to keep you on your toes. Enough difference there for sure.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely, I wouldn't say that I'm fluent. Definitely a student of the language. But yeah, it was really, it's really, really cool. But yeah, the overall quality of it. I mean, I love a lot of the shots that were made. I think something that I liked a lot was slowly throughout the movie that I noticed was like Veronica, when she was, she kind of faces isolation, and it's a little bit like she's losing her mind because she feels like she's on her own trying to protect her family. And so it's kind of cool that there would be scenes where you would see her like very much focused in the camera, but then like the person that's talking to her is like out of focus, is kind of blurry. So it was cool to have that imagery in there to kind of also tell the story in that way. Yeah, the cast is great. I have not seen Rex, so definitely have to give that a look. So I kind of didn't have that expectation going in as far as spookiness. But for overall quality, I'll give it a 9.5. It's a really good one. And then as far as scariness, definitely with you, Luke, very unsettling, very much not like a movie that you watch. For me, like when you're watching it, it's not like, oh.
Both times you watched it, you were alone, weren't you?
100%, yeah.
You were about to say this isn't a movie you watch alone, but then I saw you in real time realize both times you watched this movie, you watched it alone.
And it was pretty crazy, guys. Like I was pretty scared. Like not so much like in the middle of it, but like when you turn out the light and you're like looking at the ceiling, you're like, oh, this is great. This is fun. It's good to have these. Just
Glad I'm alone with my thoughts.
Exactly. So for scariness, I'll give it an 8. It was a very spoopy time, and very much one that marinates and lingers in your mind. So that is my take on it.
Nice. I also really liked this movie. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. It was, I get going last after this. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to say the same shit. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think, as well as Luke, a standout for me was the cinematography. Because what I will say, starting out, the story is very, very... at least the premise of the story is not that original. You have this Ouija board, crazy stuff starts happening. So at face value, this movie, if I just was telling someone this is what happens, they'd be like, yeah, that's like 80% of all horror movies ever. But I think the way it was done, the execution of the transitions between scenes, the sound editing, the set design of the apartment and how they really used the space and the windows that were facing each other, and some stuff that was really strikingly ominous. All that stuff was awesome. And I think that's what really turned it up to another level of horror movie, was just the way it was presented. The script really stuck out to me, especially the kids were just hilarious. And anytime they had a scene where they were bickering, I was like laughing and like having a great time because they were so funny and cute. And you really didn't want anything bad to happen to them the whole time. You're like, please just don't hurt the kids. And so you felt that fear that she had and the need to protect him. You're like, yes, we need to protect him. So for quality, again, it's not the most unique horror movie you're gonna see. There's a lot of unique things that happen, but overall, it's pretty standard. But I did like it a lot. I think it's a lot better than your average horror movie. I'm gonna give it, I'll give it an 8 out of 13. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it's just a pretty good horror movie. As far as spoopiness, I think it was a good scary movie. A lot of, to be totally honest, the creature wasn't that scary to me. So the first time you see him, or one of the first times you see him, and he's this big dark figure that is like wearing this weird dark armor and has this dark face, and I don't really know how to describe him that well. But one of the first times you see him is like in the reflection of a TV, and I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, it's like the alien in Signs." I was like, "Oh shoot, that's all I'm gonna see."
Pour some water on him.
And so for the rest of the movie, I'm like, "It's the alien from Signs," and I couldn't unsee it. They don't look exactly the same, but that's all I could see.
Yeah, there's a similarity there.
I didn't think the character design was all that scary, and so anytime he came, I was like not scared at all. I think the scenes that were scariest to me were the possession things, where she was freaking out, where she was kind of going crazy, especially at the end when she was like all contorted and the detectives came in. It was really a spooky visual.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, when I think it's like maybe the first time the thing shows up, it straight like throws up into her mouth. I lost it. I was like, oh, no,
no, thank you.
yeah, that's true.
I also, I'm sorry, but I did also recently rewatch the first Conjuring, and there's like, and maybe this is part of why I'm hyping Veronica so much, is they're very similar movies in some regards.
I think so.
Where it's a possession story that's about you have to protect a family, you have to do this, and I think part of why I'm so hyped about Veronica is it's like everything that they both did, Veronica did better.
Yeah.
So when I say there's a scene where that also happens in The Conjuring, it's way better when it happens in Veronica.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why I shot it all the way up to a 10.5 is I watched those two things back to back. One of which is like the standard most people have for a possession horror movie. Mm-hmm. And then the other is like this lesser known foreign language film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, but one of these clearly does it better. Mm-hmm. So I did want to point that out.
Yeah,
so
for sure. If
at any point in time I reference something and you're like, Luke, that's not from this movie, that's from The Conjuring.
Okay. Good to know.
When the raptors escape from the enclosure and Veronica has to get in the Jeep.
I remember, yeah.
Veronica finds that one guy's arm and you're like, oh no, that guy.
Oh no.
Sam Jackson.
Should have held on to his arm, not just his butt.
How do I come back from that? Yeah, spoopiness. Wasn't the scariest movie I'd seen. Very awesome, very visually awesome, but I didn't get scared that much. But it was a scary movie. It's hard to say. I think it was scary, but it didn't leave a residual effect after I was done. I was like, okay, now it's over, and I liked it. But so I'm gonna give it a solid. I'll give it a 6. I think it was scary and it was elevated over most horror movies, but I think it didn't really leave that spooky of an impression on me. But yeah, so that's our thoughts. To transition in,
I will say just real quick, I don't feel like any of us have really had any criticism of this film so far, and I feel like it might be fair just to bring up one criticism.
Yeah,
and this was just how I personally thought about, was something I personally was thought about. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about the pod about how horror is such a rich bed to explore something through metaphor, where it's this idea that you have this fear that you don't know how to express, so you find a way to do it through the medium of horror. You find a way to make an intangible fear tangible. I think a great example, and this is one of our more popular episodes, but the episode we did about Donnie Darko, where we talk about the fact that, like, if a horror movie is about what a person's afraid of, Donnie Darko isn't afraid of like Jason showing up and killing him with a machete. Donnie Darko is just afraid of death, and you had to find a way to make that a tangible thing in the movie and to make it tangibly horrific. And I feel like, and this might have been a failing on my end, I feel like there was this suggestion of that in this movie, but I never knew what it was trying to express.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like Demon Man was some kind of the alien from Signs was some kind of stand-in for something that happens in a young woman's life, and was happening with Veronica, but it was never articulated.
Right.
It's not something like the Babadook, where at the end of it you're like, somebody's like, through the medium of horror, is expressing their relationship with grief. So I was a little bit, at the end of it, I was a little bummed because I felt like the filmmakers knew what this meant to Veronica, but it wasn't clear to me as an audience member, and I was pretty bummed out about that.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I could see that, where it felt like it could have, it felt like it was going in a couple directions, but it didn't feel like anything fully formed, or like, it was like, oh, well, that's what that meant, is what I got out of it as well.
Yeah. So, like, I if you're a casual moviegoer, although let's be honest, if you're a casual moviegoer, what are the odds you're watching a foreign language film? Like,
probably not.
Get it together, guys. Just because it's in a different language doesn't mean it's not worth watching.
Yeah.
But, like, so that's a real high concept complaint to have. So if you just like spooky times, watch this movie. It's so good. Like I said, if you like The Conjuring, I want you to watch this movie and give yourself a new standard. Because I feel like it's everything you probably love about The Conjuring, but they kick it up a notch.
Yep.
So,
And I'll say, just for the sake of bearing my opinion, I love The Conjuring, and I still love The Conjuring after watching this movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies. And to just kind of bounce off this point, that was probably this that I didn't mention, but is one of the reasons I really liked this movie, because to me, the metaphor did make a lot of sense. And while I was watching it, because this movie is interesting where it's very heavy-handed in some visuals and then not in others. And to me, it was pretty cool how it did that, where there was subtlety throughout some of it, and then there was a scene where it's like in your face, where she's having her first period, and there's all this stuff happening with it, all these weird visuals are obviously her thoughts and her feelings about having it. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it's been about. And then it kind of clicked and made sense for the rest of the movie for me. So I actually really liked that part, and to me that was a positive. So it could be something that I guess you, the audience, can make a decision about. Maybe it is all over the place, or makes sense, is connected like it was for me. But I think you, to your point, you could watch this movie and get a couple of different things out of it. It wasn't explicitly this one thing like the Babadook was. I think you could look at it and be like, it's some weird, crazy creature. But I enjoyed that part. I thought it was very well done.
And going back to the point I made earlier, this is a movie that I think has great potential for revisits. Like, I think when I go back to this movie, I will see it through a different lens. And I think those are the movies that are the coolest. Like, you watch, like, God, this is going to get so pretentious, but you watch something like Avengers Endgame, by the end of it, you're like, yeah, I got it. You know, like, you know, it's really fun. I really enjoyed seeing it, and I have watched it multiple times, but you get the gist by the end. And then there are movies that feel like they've been designed for multiple viewings, and horror is so good at that. I mean, one of the first movies that really like broke my mind with how, like, from the ground up it was built to be seen multiple times through multiple lenses was Get Out, the Jordan Peele movie.
Yep.
Where it's every time you watch that movie, you get something new out of it because you have the experience of your previous viewings. I feel like this movie is going to fall a little more into that category, where maybe I was a little confused this go through, but next go through, I'm going to see something else and it'll click better for me. So I don't want to like totally besmirch the movie. Obviously, I liked it. I gave it the highest score out of all three of us. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if anybody's listening to our reviews and wants to know, like, if I don't like this in a movie, I wish they'd warn me about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But no, I feel you, Adam. I feel you.
You're across the room. How can you feel me?
I'm gonna do it.
Film me for him. Lansing.
I just sink below the camera.
Here we go.
And the audience will connect the dots.
Our minds are connected.
I feel it.
But no, and also I really like The Country as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a great. I like it a lot.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's roll off of this part. So we've talked about what we liked about it. Now let's break down the movie as far as survivability. I'm excited about this part because this is such an interesting movie to do it with. Because
we've never done a movie like this.
Yeah, it's very. I don't know. It's very unique as far as what us trying to do it with this style. But usually what we do is break down the evil thing first and its strengths and weaknesses and its power and kind of maybe quantify how far it can reach and ways we could escape it. So what did you guys see as this thing's powers, its strengths, its weaknesses, what its motives were? Let's break it down a little bit.
I was really struck by the fact that it spends obviously not a super long time, but it spends a solid chunk right at the beginning, like visiting her in the form of her father, which was such a distinct move. It was like it was an inspiring vulnerability in her just to turn around and like take control. I thought of a metaphor, but it's gross. I don't know. Like there was something that really spoke to me about the fact that it wasn't just taking by force. It was subtle. It was creepy, and it did everything it could to get Veronica to open up to it, which was a very particularly kind of frightening thing. This idea of like, what would you let into your mind? So I do think we got to put that down in like the strength category is, it's not like, I don't know. It's not like she walked into a room and all the crosses were upside down and there's the alien from Science going, "Let me in." Like,
Yeah.
It was just like a really subtle, really creepy, and it wore a familiar face.
Yeah.
It was doing everything it could to help her put her guard down and be vulnerable so it could come in. And I do think that would be a unique experience. Obviously, I am not how old does it say she is? She's like 15?
15. Yep.
I am not a 15-year-old girl in Spain, but if this entity happened to take a crack at me, like if it came wearing a friendly face and it was waiting for me to put my guard down, I'm sure it could tailor itself to my whole deal, It could find something to do that would make me lower my guard a little bit, because I think that's something else that isn't necessarily expressed in the film, but I kind of got out of it, is this idea that she's weirdly open to it at first.
Yeah.
Like, it's not until things start to get violent that she really starts to like freak out. There is sort of a weird wonder to it, I think, for her at first. I mean, like I said, especially in the first couple scenes where it's like in the shape of her dad.
Right.
Even though that's terrifying, like he is clearly like an evil entity because he's like coming out of the shadows buck naked looking terrifying. Yeah. But there's still just this sense in her of like she's relieved to see her dad.
Yeah.
So that was like the immediate impression I got was like this thing is sly, it's crafty, and it comes in a whisper, not a shout.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a strong something we have to put in like the strength category for it, is that you might be a little bit enticed. You might let your guard down a little, especially like I said, if it's able to be specific to you.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Lanson? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so just thinking about strengths, I think something that definitely this entity has going for it is that, it very much is going for one person, Veronica. So, in being able to accomplish your deed without, drawing a lot of attention to yourself, it's like you're just going after one person and, kind of making them question their own sanity, which also kind of helps to break them down if you're wanting to get to the whole possession route.
Yeah. It's like when you were living with me.
Yes.
It's what we both do to Adam every week of this podcast, just wearing him down, trying to get him to open his body to us.
I feel like we're trying to cut through concrete with plastic knives, and we're oh, we're getting closer every day, man.
I made a whole case for subtlety, and then I compared us to this creature, even though we have the subtlety of Donald Trump. Adam. Listen, Adam. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. 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 China.
Oh,
just a couple buzzwords for you Trump heads out there.
Just a little something for you.
All three of you that watch this podcast.
If you're a Trump head, I welcome you. We welcome all people.
Honestly,
felt like I wanted
cool
to
have
pander there for a little
cool
bit.
to have a community of people around horror, but also just really funny to imagine one viewer that's like, I love three things: Donald J. Trump, Final Boy Status, the podcast, and my sister and wife.
Like you said, Final Boy Status, the podcast, not the movie, the podcast.
We are working on a movie
in
so.
podcast form. Yeah. So
Hey,
it will be important
check
in
it.
the future to distinct which one you're talking about.
Can't have it
We're
all.
franchising this pitch, so
The movie comes out, and clearly we just took our favorite scene from all of our favorite horror movies and tried to put it together. There's no cohesive narrative.
Right.
You're like, that's just the scene from The Thing transitioning into a scene from Veronica?
Yeah.
no Mekos.
Then Veronica transitions into a scene from Signs, which actually worked okay because the alien and the monster look similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty smooth transition, honestly. That'd be the TV, the reflection.
Roger
and
Ebert
Signs.
gives that one transition a single thumb up. The rest of the movie he pisses on. I don't know what he does with movies he doesn't like. Is Roger Ebert alive?
No,
Oh,
I don't think so. Wasn't that a whole thing? I feel weird. I feel like I should know this.
I don't it's a
know.
spooky.
It is.
It's a spooky time podcast. Zombie Roger Ebert
Hey.
from his grave. It's the scene where a hand comes shooting out of the grave, but it's two thumbs up.
Yeah.
If he's not dead, this is really going to be awkward.
He's gonna
Hey,
be.
I'm sorry. I didn't see that coming. I'm sorry. Look at WWE match. Back out. That man had a family.
Sorry, Roger.
I'm not.
Lanson's just
Sack of
savage
crap.
today. Fetch.
You old sack of crap.
You want to crack at this title?
I'm crying.
You better meet me down by the fairgrounds in this arena for all these people.
Down by the fairgrounds. Don't move those mattresses.
Tony Hawking it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I understand that reference.
You're going to flop like a Muppet, old man.
These are some Final Boy Status deep cuts. You gotta...
For the true fans.
Yeah, for the true fans.
Yep.
Here's a negative of this, or a weakness of this creature to rail this train. We're all...
we're railing a train.
We're railing a train.
Oh.
But you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so this thing is tied to a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Very explicitly. So nothing is happening. Ouija board happens. This thing exists now. So this thing is tied to the portal, which is controlled by the Ouija board. So this is I think a huge weakness, because if someone just doesn't use a Ouija board, it's just kind of out of luck. Fortunately, it's a very popular game amongst teens and preteens, especially in the horror movie universe. So
Post-teens.
it's not like it's a huge deterrent and stuff, but it is a weakness. It can't really do anything, it seems to me, unless it's conjured by the Ouija board.
Yeah.
So
Would also point out, it does seem to be tied specifically to the eclipse as well.
Yeah.
that's true. The fact that the Ouija board, the eclipse, all happened simultaneously, that was kind of a
Yeah.
double punch there.
So, like, I mean, and, not to say this creature isn't around when, is only around during an eclipse, but worth thinking about, like, what the eclipse does to its power.
Yeah.
Maybe any other day, like, it doesn't come close, but,
Right.
It's got a little bit of that sun juice behind it, so it can really open up the gates. So that was something I was thinking about a lot as well, which is like, I mean, we're not talking about like Veronica yet or any of like the characters, but like I said, I was very surprised that they were doing that at the school.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like one decision that would be made distinctly different by me, you can have a seance like any old day.
Yeah.
You don't see a solar eclipse
Yeah, how
any old
often
day.
does that happen?
Yeah.
Like every 100 fetching years or
I know,
whatever,
right?
to be
And
able to
yeah,
catch that?
And granted, she's like 15. She's like, I'll be alive to see another one. Like, the last solar eclipse that happened, I don't even remember what year it happened. I do remember that I was unfortunately at work and I didn't get to go outside and see it. And I was like,
of 2017.
yeah.
Yeah, that's when it was, yeah.
And I do remember kind of being like, comforted by the fact of like, well, all right, like another one will happen before I die, most likely.
Yeah.
I think I actually did sneak out to like catch a glimpse though, but it was the
Yeah.
awkwardness of like I didn't have sunglasses or anything, so it was like, all right, back to work. So it's just like, I don't know, that like this thing of like celestial
Yeah.
cosmic significance, and they're like, let's be in a basement in our school. Like, come on, like we got
Fun times.
It's so dirty in here. I'm gonna step on a fucking heroin needle. And I didn't jive with that at all. I did not get that. I was like, I'm not the type of person that would mess with a Ouija board in the first place.
Yeah.
But if I were to use a Ouija board, I feel like you could just do that any old time,
Yeah.
anywhere. Feels weird to double down on doing it in your school basement during an eclipse.
I know.
So I did want to point that out. I think the eclipse gives some level of power to this creature. So
And I think that alone is also kind of a bigger weakness, that the stars have to align in the perfect way, which it does in this movie. But if they're like doing it 10 minutes after the eclipse, maybe it's not a thing. Like it has to be boom, 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 this thing happening simultaneously, and that's such a special thing for this creature to be like, oh, it happened. I didn't think it would come. It's
I
like
know,
his
right?
second coming, He's like, gotta put my shoes on.
can't believe somebody was dumb enough to do this.
Shoot,
The
same
door's just
time.
opening. I've been waiting forever. Okay. Here we
So
go.
I think that's a weakness. But a strength is, and this is something I really want to point out, is once it's there, you guys can correct me if you saw something else, but I didn't see any way to get rid of it after it's already in. The nun had some thoughts. She's like, do this and do this. She did the stuff. It didn't work. This thing was so powerful once it was out that it was just a river just coming down to
Cutting through stone.
Okay.
that
Maybe I misread this,
Yes.
maybe
but
I misread
I
this.
thought she took the nun's advice, but it didn't work because she wasn't doing it with the girls that
With
she
the
did
two-
the seance
two
with in the
girls.
first place. I thought that's why
fair.
it didn't work.
That thought did cross my mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just a thing of like, no substitutions can be made. 3 people welcome to this spirit into the world,
Those same
and
three
only
people.
one person is trying to take it back now. Like
Yeah.
That's fair.
that's
fair.
I thought that's what was going on. The film, I guess, didn't communicate that. I was just intuiting that on my end.
Yeah.
But I thought that's why that happened. I think the nun probably knew what she was talking about. I don't know. She was like a wise blind nun. I'm inclined to believe that she knows her stuff. But so like I think her advice would have worked. It was just that the other two girls like were I understandably to a degree, like just not down to.
Just like,
Yeah,
nah,
you can't really
I'm
fault
good.
them for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one girl like didn't really see anything get too spooky. The other girl, I understand why she's like, no, I don't want to do that again.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. So I thought that's why it didn't work.
That makes sense.
So I guess because I think that is a good point and something I did think about and totally forgot about that was a thing. So let's say if that was a thing, those circumstances were pretty crazy. And like I said, I think they were validly like not going to do it, especially at that moment in that time where they're having the party. One is straight up making out with this guy and she's like, we got to do this.
She was inside of him.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
It's rare to get that kind of reaction out of Adam, and I'm going to savor that.
You just flustered me.
Savor it.
He was thinking back to his time in high school.
Yeah. All those Ouija boards.
Trying to get people to send demons back. Come on, guys.
I'm banging on the door at the party. Guys, I need you.
Get your tongue out of his mouth. We got to send the demon back to hell.
But if I remade this movie and it was the three of us and we were in a basement and we saw some crazy shit, I don't think it'd be too hard to be like, guys,
We got to send him back.
we need to do this again. I think you guys would be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll say this right now. I would do that for you guys.
I would do it to you guys too. And I think
To you guys.
I would do it to you and for you and from you. So take that as you will.
I would not.
Oh, well, I guess
I
we're
abstain.
fucked.
Well, yeah. Then the ending of this movie is inevitable.
It's going to happen.
Maybe I was the demon the whole time. Anyway.
Guess there's another weakness from the demon, though. I said in the context of this movie, it was hard to do, but I think generally it wouldn't be too hard to get the same three people, especially if crazy crap happened and they all were like, yeah, I do believe in it now because of what happened, and yeah, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
I do think, I mean, total spoiler for the ending, this creature is clearly tied to the vessel it is selected.
Yeah, specifically Veronica.
Yeah. Like, at the end, when she turns on herself, straight, like, mutilates herself and dies from her injuries, it disappears. It goes away. Like, you literally see a moment where the detective sees, feels, experiences this creature leaving the mortal realm as she passed away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously you don't want it to get to this point, but like, worst case scenario, this thing's attached itself to you. You off yourself for the good of your family, and I guess for the good of the world, just so this thing doesn't have a vessel in the walking world. Because that's basically what happens with Veronica. I thought it was kind of weird that the movie treated it like a reveal because it was obvious from the beginning.
Yep.
But like the big thing at the end is she's like, oh, it's me. Like this creature I see walking around, that's not real. That's a figment of my imagination, or like that's a spiritual manifestation or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm the one physically doing the things that are affecting the waking world. I am the vessel for this creature. And that's when she takes that shard of glass and friggin' jabs herself in the neck, which was really cool, but real hard to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, that's when like the demonic stuff really flies off the walls too. 'Cause she's like floating and creepy looking and all that.
Yeah.
If that happens, though, that is not surviving it. You know, I guess that's if I was like, I forgot what the friend's name was. Shoot.
They were in the movie for like 5 minutes total.
Well, she
Do
was
they
like
even
yelling
have
their
names?
name at the party.
I know,
and
right?
I forget what their names were.
Oh yeah, I remember because one time she said it really weird.
Yeah.
Like, not to like slam the actress, but like I don't remember the character's name. So let's say the name of one of the friends was like Rosa. I remember that she's standing outside the door and she's yelling Rosa over and over again. And one of them was such a weird line reading where like the rest of them felt so like desperate and heartbreaking. Then there's one that's like, Rosa.
Rosa, get out here.
What are you doing, girlfriend?
Just a couple that were like, just like one or two line readings of that were just like a weirdly, just felt so strange. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love horror movies like if you're not necessarily into scariness, I love horror movies as a place to find the wackiest line readings you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Like even a masterpiece like Jaws. We talked about Jaws recently and we were all gushing over it.
Mm-hmm.
There's still lines in that movie where somebody's like, oh, this is a tiger shark. Oh, what? like, who approved that? Did Steven Spielberg let that happen in his movie? That's insane.
Yeah.
It's Crazy Ralph in Friday the 13th. All he does is weird line readings. Never come back again.
And I love it.
It's a good time.
It's great. So even a movie as good as this has a couple of real funny line readings.
Yeah.
Let's get in. Are there any other character choices that we can think of specifically that we would do differently? So I think just going from straight the beginning, the choice to just not do a Ouija board would be a good choice just not to do, I think, as a general rule for anybody.
Or just not on an eclipse. In a scary basement.
Just wait 10 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
I go on a sunlit
And
picnic in the middle of the day for my Ouija sessions. I don't need to be in a creepy school basement.
Public park, there's dogs catching
Just putting your
frisbees.
bib,
Yeah.
getting ready for your sandwich while you're like, am I going to enjoy this sandwich? Yes.
Treating the Ouija board like a magic 8-ball. I mean, is she ever going to text me back? Outcome not likely. Fuck.
So what other decisions can you guys think that might have been handled differently if you were in the boots of the protagonist?
I didn't care for the fact that they didn't read the instructions for the Ouija board.
I know, right?
Not to be this guy, but like the fact that she's surprised by something. Because there's like, sorry, burps. Full burped on mic. I hate it when I do that. But there's like the whole scene where she goes and she buys a new Ouija board, tosses away everything but the instruction book so she can actually read the instructions. And she gets to the end and it's like, you have to say goodbye. And she's like, oh, I didn't do that. I'm like, what? You didn't? What?
Come on.
Like some stuff, yeah. Like this isn't furniture from IKEA. You know,
Yeah.
This is literally contacting the spiritual realm, and you didn't think, oh, let's just read a couple pages. Like,
We'll see what's there to see.
so I did not jive with that. And by the way, I understand not reading instructions.
Yeah.
I am a man who owns electronics. Trust me when I say it says you should look at the instructions for the setup. I have never once done that. We've all put together a bookshelf without looking at the instructions. I get it. Not knocking it. If you're a strong, independent woman and you don't need no instructions, I get that. But when it comes to the spiritual realm, the realm of demons, the realm of darkness, whatever you want to call it, especially if you're dumb enough to do it on an eclipse, you don't read all the instructions. They were like reading them as they went. No. I would be doing extensive research before I sat down at that Ouija board, just in case. Like, I'm not, I think I don't know. It's interesting because I'm a very rational person, but I'm also a very spiritual person, and I don't jive with walking into a situation like that with no knowledge.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was truly flummoxed by.
Do your homework if you're gonna
real,
do a stupid seance with your friends, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
PSA by Luke Cutter.
You doubled down on so many things. You were like, we're doing the seance in the school during an eclipse. You were double down on so many things, and you're reading.
You're like, where do we put our fingers? What's going on? Oh,
That would be like if I got cast in a Marvel movie and I showed up the first day on set and my entire performance was me reading the script in real time.
And
I've
I
done
get
that.
superpowers.
Spider-Man, we got to get out of here. Oh shit, guys! I get bit by a spider too.
the actor's like,
Where's the spider?
he's good.
Wow.
Watch a master at work.
Sam Raimi sitting back in Video Village, just. I knew I had a feeling about this guy.
And I'll say pizza time for me. Say pizza time for
pizza
me.
time, and I'm like, pizza time, and he's like,
Oh,
Mamma mia, it's a pizza time.
especially just imagining me like now that a trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home is out, we're taping this weeks in advance, but like it just came out a couple days ago. Just imagining one actor on that set reading the script in real time. All right, yeah, okay, pretty good, yeah, all right, and then whoa, Doc Ock is here. This is pretty crazy. Peter. Sick. I laughed so hard at that. Hey Peter. Hey Peter. Hey Peter. Lance has got both of us tonight. He's got our numbers tonight.
Oh, that got me. I was not expecting that. Perfect delivery.
Just like I wasn't expecting he will be.
He will be.
Just
Fetch. Lanston, do you have any different choices you'd make?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the two biggest things that I would say that would kind of help you to overcome this entity of like just, not using the Ouija board, or if you do, like understand how to use a Ouija board, as well as, like maybe I forgot the other point we just came up with. My mind just went blank.
It's all right.
I do think like this is such a spiritual matter.
Yeah.
But she has no spiritual like guidance. Like there is the blind nun who gives her advice a couple times. Mm-hmm. But like I don't know. I feel like I would want to go see a priest. Like I'd kind of just be like running this up the flagpole.
Sure.
Obviously she doesn't realize it's a possession. Like we as an audience seem to be aware of it, but she doesn't realize it until like right before she ganks herself. But like I don't know. I feel like that is something else. Again, just wanting to have information and wanting to be aware of things. I feel like as soon as I'm like, no, something happened during that, and I feel like there's something here with me, I would want nothing but like the most spiritual of counseling. Mm-hmm. Maybe just counseling in general. I don't book an appointment with a therapist, book an appointment with a priest, book an appointment with a rabbi. I don't care who you see. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Just try to get yourself like spiritually feeling correct, because she clearly afterwards doesn't feel right.
Right.
So I don't know. Not that it necessarily would have mattered, but I don't know. Maybe the guy can perform an exorcism. Maybe he could do something so you don't go like full creepy girl there at the end and then just, and then die. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good points.
Yeah. I think to kind of wrap it all together in my mind, there's a lot of things I could say where I'm like, yes, I would treat that differently. For example, I think the conversations she had with her mom, I would treat very differently. I'd be like, look, I'd lay it down. I mean, she kind of did this, but in kind of an angsty teenage way, where I'd be like, look, we've all been seeing some crazy shit, but honestly, we're a bunch of kids on our own. You're never here. Like laying it down to the mom, like we have no guidance here. I'm only 15. I'm hitting puberty right now. Like so many wild things are happening that we need some help. And the thing about that is I'm not a 15-year-old girl from Spain. I don't know. And the from Spain part doesn't matter as much, but I of course, in this movie is how that would happen with, like they're a child. They feel alone. They feel isolated. They feel like there is no guiding force that could help them. So they isolate themselves. And so it's hard. Of course, if I was in this movie as a 24-year-old man, I would try and resolve some of the conflicts a little bit better. I would try and be a little bit more level-headed. I would try and seek the right help, but she was a 15-year-old girl.
Right,
like
yeah.
I can't really
sure.
blame her for not doing that, because she acted the way a 15-year-old girl who's going through this stuff would act. So it's a little tough to judge it that way, because I think,
right.
And we've brought this up with other movies, but everyone was very true to their character and what their character would do.
Yeah.
But I think if I was in it, I would definitely make some choices. I'd be like, Mom, look, here's the thing. I can't babysit these kids. Get an adult up in here, or else we're gonna all kill each other. Because fetch. So, yeah, I think there's a lot that could be missed if I was in this movie. But if I'm a 15-year-old girl, I don't know if I could do better.
Yeah.
And like, again, credit to the movie. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And we are speaking of this from a completely different perspective.
Absolutely, yeah.
But this whole podcast is kind of making mountains out of molehills anyway.
That's the point. We gotta say it.
So yeah, I think that wraps it up beautifully. I mean, this movie makes sense. It's coherent. It's really well done. But this is a comedy podcast,
Right.
So it's time for us to ruin it with some observations.
So, any other thoughts about choices the characters make or the evil thing makes that could be avoided?
I just gotta say, Centea, the song that they sing, as well as the product, we never see that, so kind of bummed about that. And that's all I have to say.
That's the point.
What if
Alright,
like the demon
point.
like walked into the apartment, saw it on the table, and was like, and just vanished?
It can get demons out of your house as well.
It's a part of the jingle that they just never got to.
I like that. Yep.
Just saying.
That's a
Just
good point.
saying.
Good point. It never comes up.
Yeah.
Never happens.
I would have liked to have
There's
seen what would have happened.
No actual product placement. So, good point. Let's get to the part of the show where we decide, can we survive? We do this in two different tiers. The first tier is, could we survive final boy status, which is the second person to die. If you are familiar with cliches with regular like 80s slasher movies where there's the final girl who's the last one to survive by the skin of her teeth, she figures it out, outsmarts, outruns, outlucks the bad guy, whatever it is. Then the final boy is something we kind of thought of where it's the guy who's like there most of the time and then dies second to last. So we decided, could we survive final boy status by getting at least to be the last person to die? And then could we make that final hurdle and make final girl status? So, Lanson, let's jump over to you. What do you think? Could you survive this movie? Final boy and final girl status.
Yeah, so final boy status, I feel like for sure, because I think only Veronica dies in this movie.
Yeah, this is probably the lowest body count we've had in a movie.
No one else really
Oh,
does.
actually, Donnie Darko.
Yeah,
Donnie
that's right.
Darko's the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
But yeah,
Depending on the timeline, I guess.
Depends on the. There is a timeline where he shoots a guy in the eyeball.
And where the girl dies and gets
Takes
run
out
over.
some nunchucks.
Yeah, but also he shoots a guy in the eyeball. But Adam, wait, did you think about this?
Tell me.
He shoots a guy
Where?
in the dick.
Whoa.
That's a timeline we didn't see.
Does he have to suck the poison out?
Somebody tried to.
Somebody.
Seth Rogen.
I can't do his laugh.
Neither can I.
Oh, shoot. But yeah, so I definitely think in that sense, since she's the only one that dies, even if I do nothing and I summon the demon and I have no way of getting it out, not that she does nothing.
The first night it shows up, you're like, Dad, give it a full hug and it's full possession. Like light shining out of your eyes.
So I think I definitely could make final boy status just by virtue of even if you did nothing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Luke? Could you make final boy?
Yeah. I'm going to clarify something you said a second ago. And I know what you meant, but I want to make sure it's clear to the audience. We did not coin the term final boy. We kind of came up with the idea of like the final boy is like a benchmark of you make it really far, but you can't quite make it all the way to the end. That's what Adam was saying. I'm just worried.
We coined the term. Luke.
It's ours.
We copyrighted it.
You're right. He's absolutely right.
I just felt like somebody somewhere was gonna be a mess that I didn't want to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, final boy status. I mean, we're assuming that I don't like trip on my way down to the basement and friggin' smack into the concrete floor. Full die.
That's yeah.
Because, I mean, the thing is, we give ourselves like a lot of credit with these movies. Oftentimes I'm watching the movie and I'm like, pretty sure I'm the guy who dies first. I'm pretty sure I'm the guy who just like wanders away from the group to like pee in the woods or something and gets like chopped in half. Pretty sure that's who I actually am. But yeah, I don't know. Putting myself in this place, I'm one of the 3 girls participating. Yeah, pretty easy to get final boy status on this one. Because even if you are the one that the spirit attaches itself to, like, yeah, like, you still survive a slow and painful infestation of your soul before you die. And in theory, like we said, Veronica, at least in my interpretation of the movie, it's like there are some clever cuts to make it a little unclear, but it seemed clear to me that she killed herself.
Yeah.
So there's a version of this movie where she maybe actually doesn't die and she's just possessed and she's the vessel for this creature as it walks the earth.
Yeah.
Hereditary style.
People in her path. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think, final boy status is pretty easy because I don't know that the creature even wants you dead because you're its vessel.
Right.
So final boy status feels pretty like kind of a given on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. I think it's just kind of a gimme. Not a whole lot of effort would go into that. But let's just jump right into the definitive question, which is, could you make final girl status? Could you survive this movie? Veronica did not survive this movie. Could we do what she couldn't do, Lance?
Yes. And let me tell you how.
We all know what's coming.
So I am just going to make friends with this demon. Like, I'm going to get to know who this person is, what they like, what they don't like, who they might have a crush on. Like, it's going to be a whole montage.
That's so interesting. Tell me more about yourself.
Wow, that's crazy. So you come from a void. Like, are there many people, like, where you live? Or, like, what's that like? So what are you interested in? Okay, you ever had ice cream? We're going to get ice cream. You're going to like ice cream.
I'm just suddenly thinking of the scene from Airplane. Like, you ever been in a cockpit before? No, sir, I've never been in a plane before. You ever seen a grown man naked?
Shoot. So, yeah, I mean, there'd be this lovely montage of, like, insert any sort of, like Mr. Blue Sky. We're just, like, shaving together, he and I. I'm shaving and he's shaving, just...
Randomly in the montage is the fake orgasm scene from When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
I would know if somebody was faking it. Oh, I'm sure somebody's faked a possession on you before, man.
I'll have what he's having. So
I'm sorry, that's so funny.
So yeah, it would be a story that would begin like all horror movie, it would be the exact same movie, but like instead of being like, it's me, soy yo, it's like, hey, it's me. It's time to get to know the darker side of me. And then it would just end with a movie about friendship.
Gotta make peace with yourself.
That's awesome.
It's like the end of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Nega Scott.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, you're gonna go get waffles later.
So, yes, by the power of friendship and
ice cream.
Yeah.
That heals a lot of wounds.
Does
a lot.
He can also make a lot of wounds. Anyway.
So proud of him. Just the way you said that. And he can make a lot of wounds. That guy's good at what he does.
You know, he's a master at the art, honestly. I like watching him work.
It's good to talk to somebody who's good at their job.
Yeah,
You know?
just has that passion for it.
Yeah.
Don't see that.
Doesn't happen all the time.
No. Yeah. How about you, Luke? Could you make final girl status?
So I normally leave. I usually let Lance and mastermind how to survive our movies, but I'm gonna admit I was thinking about it a lot while I was watching this movie, and I'm gonna take a crack, and I'm gonna present my plan to survive alongside Lanson's.
Let's take the crack.
So I think what happens is I get down in that school basement, but I get a little hot under my collar. You know, I get a little nervous, and I'm like, guys, I need a smoke break. Like I need a smoke break here. And so, or well, after the seances happened, things get pretty
the
weird.
Seances already
Yes.
happened.
I should clarify
Okay.
that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little hot under my collar. I'm like this is a little crazy for me. I go out for a smoke break, and I write a letter. This letter comes back later. It's very important.
You write a letter.
And then,
Okay.
things start to unfold. Things start to get a little crazy, and I'm starting to feel like my life's at a real low point, and things are looking pretty bad. And I take that letter, the letter I've written to Santa Claus, and I lose all faith in Christmas and in life being good ever again. And I tear that letter up and I throw it out the window. And that is when a little fella named Krampus arrives on the scene.
Oh, yeah.
And his whole mission is to make me believe in Christmas again, or else. And this movie becomes Krampus versus the Sun Demon.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just slowly back away. I let them fight. Krampus gives me the bell or whatever. I'm like, cool beans. I take off. The sole survivor. And I just let them duke it out. And that is how I get away from this movie scot-free.
Nice, dude. I like it.
I told you the letter would be important later.
That was important.
There was a letter?
That was mega important. You weren't listening, Lanson? Gosh dang it.
No, there was he was.
We got to practice.
Are you trying to
here.
goad me into a Casey Kasem? Here's a letter.
There it is. Got him. All right.
Adam, we would like to hear
think it's
how
my
you
turn.
feel about Final Girl status.
Now, I would not survive this movie.
Oh man,
I'm sorry. One of these times, have we all survived? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
What?
I don't remember which one.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Cool.
But we did have one where right across we were like, yeah, we could do it.
Yeah. This movie, I feel, this is my interpretation of it. I think once the things got you, it's got you pretty good, and there's really not a whole lot you can do to get rid of it. I think I would be the person to go into the basement of the school during something important that's happening that my teachers are like, hey, it's important. I'm like, whatever, because I love spooky things, and I would frequent these places at my own school. When I was in high school, I would go into the basement. I'd go into the rafters. I'd do crazy stuff. I never did a Ouija board, but I think if someone brought a Ouija board, it was like, want to do this Ouija board? I'd be like, sure, yeah, let's do it.
Somebody approaches you like they have weed, and they're like, you want to do this Ouija board?
I got this Ouija board. You want to go into the rafters and do this? And I'd be like,
Yeah.
Oh, you got that real dank stuff.
I
Let's
would not
go.
say no.
Good.
I'm also what people would call a skeptic. I don't think I would be doing it and be like, we're just pushing a cup around. I'm not freaked out. I'm not feeling any weird vibes from this. And then I get straight possessed, and it sucks. And I'm like, well, I was fetching wrong. The thing about it, though, is I don't know. I think after that was done, I would just be done. I don't think I would have the strength to really do anything about it. I think I would at some point, either before I did something awful, but especially after I did something awful and realized what power I had, I'd probably can't come to the same conclusion she did, and was like, I gotta go, man. I suck balls right now.
Whoa.
And so I don't know. I'd do it in a cooler way. Like I'd find a really tall building,
Yeet yourself off the top.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like
Full swan dive. Action hero pose.
Yeah, I'd do something cool, and it'd be a cool story, but I don't think I'd survive. I think I'd fall for all the traps, and then it'd be too late.
This is a bit of a tangent, but you guys remember that scene in Midsummer, the real messed up scene with the ritual suicide from the two older people?
Yeah.
You remember how that one guy just stupidly goes feet first? Do you ever get the feeling I would do that? Not that I would jump off a building, but if I jumped off a building, I would probably just not think about it and go feet first like a dummy.
Dang it.
Oh, I can't believe I did this.
I should have thought it through.
Sorry, I was just suddenly imagining Adam all right, time to go, and he pitches himself off the building, but he goes feet first on accident. Survives.
Somebody! And they're like, get this man EMS, and I'm like, please don't.
Do not resuscitate.
DNR this.
Dude, the problem is mainly your legs. I think you're going to live through this. No, get a hammer.
You're actually doing really well. You're not even fainted or anything. You've got a whole life ahead of you.
It's not even a compound fracture from this height. That's great, buddy.
That's a 1-story building. You jumped off your house. You fell on the trampoline. You're fine, man.
In your mind, it's this big epic thing, but in reality,
Kill me. Kill me.
no.
You're lying on the ground with a sprained ankle, like, please just kill me.
Oh, it's bad.
Somebody bring that giant mallet from Midsummer. Nobody has that in real life. What? That's not real.
Find someone playing croquet.
Make it happen.
So, yeah, I would not survive.
Where's Peter Gabriel? We need a sledgehammer.
Oh. Man.
Anyway.
That was, I think that was the show. I think that was it. What just happened was what we have to offer as a show.
I don't know what to call what just happened. I guess we'll call it the show.
The show. The final boy status. Let us know if you could survive this movie. And any movie recommendations you have, your favorite horror movies, something that would be really fun to see if a bunch of average Joes could survive. Hit us up.
Yeah,
we got our ear to the pulse of the world. So you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. However you're watching this, on Facebook. What's our thing? Who remembers this? I never do. Do we have a thing on Facebook? It's a little weird right now, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot here. I was like, let's toss this over to Luke.
We're kind of like striking out on our own and becoming our own thing, and the parent thing's kind of going away. So I don't think we have a Facebook page right now.
So I totally lied. That's cool.
We have an email. You can reach us. It's just finalboystatus@gmail.com. There might be a Twitter account. I'm honestly not sure.
We're really good at this.
The problem is we delegate. Like we do the show and then we expect other people to do stuff and we don't know if it actually gets done.
So honestly, find us on Find us on YouTube and leave a comment, send an email. And then just stay listening to the show, and we'll give you updates on where you can find us in future episodes.
For sure.
We'll definitely have more of a presence as time goes on and as more of you start listening. Do we have any plugs? What do you guys have going on?
As always, this show, Final Boy Status. It's a good time. Keep listening. Appreciate you guys.
Heck yeah. I mean, I always have stuff going on. Most of what I'm doing nowadays is probably just going to end up on my YouTube page, so you can just go find that. I'm sure there's a link in the description below. If you want just general updates about stuff that I do, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Luke Haueter. That's LukeHaueter. And just going to kind of mirror Lance in a bit here and say that I'm just feeling really psyched about this show lately, and tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your family, tell the spirit you contacted through a Ouija board. Like, we're just excited to be doing this show, and we're excited that we have people who like it and who were nice enough to listen. So we're doing it for you and for us, mostly for us, but also for you.
And one thing I think I forget to do some other episodes is if you are following along and want to watch the movies along with us, the next movie we are going to do, is it An American Werewolf in London? Is that the next one?
I think it's An American Werewolf in London, yeah.
Yeah, that's the next one. So go watch that, and then next episode we'll drop it. You can follow along with us. We won't get it spoiled for you, and you can see how you can do compared to us.
We did a lot of movies, I think, in season 1 that were like movies everybody has seen, or movies that like you don't really need to see. Like, I'll always know what you did last summer. I think all three of us basically said, don't even bother watching it.
Don't even bother. I stand by that.
But the really fun thing about season 2 so far is like more and more, there's just so many movies that we're like, if you haven't seen this movie, do yourself a favor and watch it. And that's actually a really cool feeling to have so many movies where we're like, yeah, you should just watch this. It's really good.
It's a good one, man. So, do it. Follow along. But thanks again for watching. Stay awesome, and we'll see you next time.
This has been an Underqualified Idiocracy media production, produced by Lanson Lappin, Adam Bone, and Luke Haueter. Theme music for the episode was written by Rachel Robison. You can hear more of Rachel's music at rachelrobinsonmusic.com. You can also find her on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching at Robel Racheson. Artwork for the YouTube version of this podcast was created by Trinity Rodriguez. You can follow her on Twitter by searching at InstrinBaby to see more of her work. This podcast was recorded in Underqualified Studios and edited by Luke Haueter, with special thanks to Mike Fuchs for providing audio assistance. The illustrious voice acting providing the intro and outro of this episode is Shane Alvey of the Paradox Files voice acting. You can explore more of his work on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching at The Paradox Files.